A very warm welcome to sports. I'm Solomon Achiziogo. Now, the head coach of the Super Eagles, Gannett Roy, could hand Malaga striker Brian Ideye recall to the Nigerian team ahead of next month's friendly matches against Poland and Serbia. Ideye last played for the Eagles in their first Nations Cup qualifier in last year against Zambia in Ndola. Now, the 29-year-old joined Malaga in January and has scored 1 goal in 4 Spanish La Liga games. As part of the preparations, the Eagles will face Poland in Warsaw on the 23rd of March and take on Serbia 4 days later in London. Roy is expected to announce his squad that will prosecute the games before Friday. Meanwhile, Italian club Torino have acknowledged the invitation of Nigerian midfielder Joel Obi for the Super Eagles clash with Poland and Serbia. The midfielder has not played for the Eagles in a while. Now, could young star Francis Uzo be heading to his first FIFA World Cup in Russia? Well, head coach of the Super Eagles, Gannett Roy, would answer that question in the days ahead, as the goalkeeper's trainer of the Eagles, Enrico Pionetti, has been spotted in Spain with the youngster. Roy had sent Pionetti to help do some work on the young goalkeeper as the technical crew looked to solve the team's goalkeeping problem following the illness of Carl Ikeme. Uzo has played for the Eagles just once in a friendly match against Argentina in November, but he was the reserve goalkeeper when Nigeria won the FIFA Under-17 World Cup in the United Arab Emirates in 2013. Now, the Nigerian bobsled team to the 24th Winter Olympic Games in Pyeongchang has returned to the country. The team of Shehu Adigun, Ngozi Onwumere, Omeoga Akwoma and Simidele Adiago are the first to represent Africa in the event at the Games. The Nigerian ladies finished 20th in their heats, but the president of the sport in the country, Solomon Ogba, is already looking forward to the next Winter Games in Beijing in 2022. Now, he won the 400 meters in a personal best time of 45.28 seconds at the national trials, and the hope of the country for a medal at the 2018 Commonwealth Games have rested on his shoulders. But Emmanuel Bamidele has disappeared from the Nigerian athletics camp. This has caused confusion within the Athletics Federation of Nigeria, AFN. The AFN named him in the 37-man track and field team for the Games, which holds in Gold Coast, Australia in April. There are indications he is switching nationality to a country in the Middle East, Qatar to be specific. But in 2017, the IAAF froze the transfer of allegiance by athletes. So the Nigerian team to the Commonwealth Games is one man short, because we do not know where Emmanuel Bamidele is. And joining us in the studio to discuss these issues, call it lots of issues surrounding athletics. He's senior athletics writer with the makingofchampions.com, Yemi Olus. Glad to have you join us, Yemi.
It's good to be here.
What's the confusion in the camp? You have 37 athletes in camp, then just one athlete is missing, and there is trouble all over the whole place.
Well, that was just a recent development, because news filtered in over the weekend or early this week that Emmanuel Bamidele was no longer to be found in camp. So, of course, nobody has really confirmed his whereabouts, but I think the Federation has confirmed that he's really not in camp. And considering that this was like the most, well, I say most valuable or most impressive athlete, you know, so to speak, during the Commonwealth Games trials in Abuja a few weeks back, I mean, everyone is going to be really downcast because we had a lot of hopes. Everyone had high hopes for this boy, considering how fast and how well he ran at the trials. Remember, he broke 46 seconds in the semis, you know, and then the second day he bettered his time. He did a 45.28 seconds, a PB, you know, a world lead for that matter. This is someone who has run the fastest time in the world in the 400 meters this year, you know, outdoor. So, of course, there'll be a lot of confusion.
But then, athletes don't just get missing and switch allegiance. It's always something that had been in the works. It's not like people didn't know this was going to happen. So why the noise? Because you don't just miss in camp. You don't just switch allegiance. It's a process.
Well, but on the part of the Federation now, were they aware? We cannot tell, you know, for certain that they were aware of what was going on. We do not know that, you know, because I actually think they will be crushed by this news, I would think, because this was someone who was included in the team. This was someone who we're expecting, like, okay, this is a medal prospect, you know, at the Commonwealth Games. So I don't think, you know, it will be good news for the Federation knowing that something of this magnitude was going to happen and then they did nothing about it. To me, it doesn't
But
add
is
up.
there really anything they could do about it? He has never represented Nigeria before, even though there is a freeze on switch of allegiance. But what does the IAF rules say about switch of allegiance?
That's the situation that doesn't really work very well for the Federation, considering that he's never run for Nigeria before. So more or less, you know, he's kind of free, and there's little that can be done, you know, in that kind of situation. He's not run for Nigeria before. Even though it will have taken more time, you know, and more modalities and a lot of that. But he's never run for Nigeria.
Why are athletes switching away from Nigeria? We have so many of them in the Middle East. In Bahrain, we lost Kemi Adekoya, we lost Eddie Diong. Making of champions have produced, well, a potentially world beater in Precious Moses in the 2015 auditions for the Making of Champions. And then he switched to Bahrain, Samuel Francis to Qatar, Femi Ogunode to Qatar. We are losing these athletes in droves. Why?
Well, Precious Moses had not become a Making of Champions athlete by the time he left, but he was someone that, yeah, Making of Champions was interested in. You know, at the time we saw him run at the Enugu auditions, our Enugu top sprinter auditions in 2015. He was, you could tell that, okay, this boy is very talented. So of course we had eyes on him, but unfortunately he had to move to Bahrain. I think all that is happening now, you know, is just a reflection of things that have gone down in the past in terms of athletics management, the system itself, you know, how supportive has it been to the Nigerian athletes? We're talking of Nigeria as a whole now. How has the country treated its athletes? How much attention do these athletes get, you know, from the government, from Nigeria? What is being invested in them? So you look at all of those. It's not easy being an athlete in Nigeria, I think. It's really very challenging. So I think for some of them, you know, they feel this, actually it is a career for them, you know, and so they feel like if they have better prospects outside, well,
there's still a lot of talk about not just athletes moving, but that the athletes that have been selected for this Commonwealth Games camp are not the best athletes to represent Nigeria. Divine Oduduru is not here. Shayi Ogunlewe is not here. And Alfonso Sanier Keme is not here. Cecilia Francis is in here. You have a whole lot of them who are schooling in the US at the moment. You certainly know all of them. So how come some of our best athletes who were not at these trials aren't going to the Commonwealth Games? Well,
to be fair, you know, to the Federation, I think for most of these athletes, they are just in their first year in university. You know, we talk about Cecilia, we talk about Anyekeme. They only just started school, you know, in the US, and they're already doing so well, you know, for their schools. So this is the indoor season, you know, has been on. It's just ended. Starting with the outdoors. These people are on track scholarships, and so they have to run for their schools more or less. So I think for now, you know, their first priority would be their school. If, for example, they were in latter years, like, okay, second year, third year, and so on, but this is just their first year here. So I think the concentration will really be on them, you know, running for their schools. It's unfortunate, though, because, of course, now they can't get to represent Nigeria at the Commonwealth Games. But I think, to be fair, we have the best team we could possibly have for now. You know.
You talk about fairness. How fair is it for Nigeria that the Athletics Federation was not involved in the move of these athletes, knowing that a major event will be coming up in the year, the Commonwealth Games, the championships will also be coming up later in the year, and these athletes will certainly not also be around? How come the AFN wasn't involved in the transition of these athletes from this place to these universities? How come they were not involved?
Well, I'm not sure it is their responsibility to be the ones to get the scholarships for these athletes. You know, I'm not sure about that. But if these athletes have been offered scholarships by their schools, they have to run for their schools, more or less.
They are first Nigerians.
Yeah, who have been presented an opportunity of a lifetime, marrying education with sports, which is something that is very rare in our system here. But there they get to go to school and they get to compete at the same time. you know, which is a plus.
But I'm fascinated by the fact that Joy Udo Gabriel, of all the athletes you got from the audition of Top Sprinter, she was the least I gave a chance to be able to go this far. But she's in this team and she's part of the Tokyo 2020 project. But I think that if the Olympics is coming up in 2 years and you have just one athlete out of all the, well, tens of athletes you have been able to groom, how on track is the Tokyo 2020 project?
Well, for us at Making of Champions, you know, Tokyo 2020 project began in 2016, more or less, 2015 actually, when we recruited some of these athletes. So it's been an ongoing project. We've laid the foundation, which we're building on, and now we can see, okay, someone like Joy now is a product of that. She's Making of Champions' first athlete to make the senior national team, you know. She's under 20, she's 18, which is impressive, you know. And a lot can happen in a year or two. This is 2018, we still have 2019, you know, and this is even early in the season still. We're just in February, you know, so which means these athletes can actually go much faster. And then we have the African Championships coming up later this year. We have the World Juniors coming later this year. So we'll expect that, you know, with this kind of exposure someone like Joy is getting, and then even the rest of her colleagues in Making of Champions, you know, some of these championships, if, you know, they are lucky to
Finally, how many do you hope to take to Tokyo? How many of your athletes do you hope will make it to Tokyo?
I think for now it will be premature to actually give a figure, but definitely it's on track.
Thank you very much there, Yemi Olus, Senior Athletics Writer with the Making of Champions.com.
Thanks
and of
for
course
having
the Track
me.
Club as well.
Thank you.
Well, that will be all of sports today. We've dealt with the issues in athletics, but then as the days, the event will unfold, we'll give you all of the updates later in the day and in the week. That's all of it for sports now, but the breakfast show continues with Mike and Ngozi. Well, Mike just came in.